Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and money, is going places in this week's astrology. All aboard the Venus Express, because we are transitioning into Venus in Capricorn, which is an up level of our standards in romance when it comes to our finances, when it comes to our aesthetics. But before we arrive to the Venus in Capricorn stop, we have one final stop in the Venus in Sagittarius journey. And this is a stop that is so enticing, so alluring, that it may make you get off the train, even if that was not your destination. This is a destination that can convince you that sometimes it's the most fun part of the journey to get a little lost, that sometimes it's adventurous to play in the realm of make-believe and fantasy, even when there's nothing there of substance. And those of you who are familiar with astrology may already know the energy that I'm speaking about based on my description. Venus, before it enters Capricorn, will square Neptune. And as my analogy indicated, this energy can be just as dreamy as it is deceiving. It could be just as magical and synchronistic as it can be disappointing. It's the sort of energy where when you're looking outside in your train seat, it may look alluring, it may look dreamy, but it's the sort of energy where when you get off the train to go actually explore the town that you are viewing from far away, you find that those appearances were deceiving. And now you are lost in an unfamiliar town, you are far away from your destination, and the next train does not come from some time. And that's very much Neptunian energy. It is confusing by its own definition. It could be a dream, it could be a mirage, it could be a maze, it could be all of these things at the same time. But the core theme of Neptune is that it is not very solid. It is not very grounded. And we are in Capricorn season. We are wanting things within our life that are solid, that are rooted, that are grounded. And yes, this week's Venus square Neptune could send some of us on a very romantic date. It could be some of you having a vision board party and putting some goals for the year ahead that are a little delusional, but feeling deep within your bones that some of them may come into fruition. This could draw us into some sales that seem very appealing as we are window shopping, that make it seem like this very boutique and its 50% off sale is the answer to all of our prayers. And maybe it is, but Venus in Capricorn, the sun in Capricorn, wants to see receipts. It wants to do some research on what the town is actually about and the next train that will come if we decide that we're wanting to switch directions before we get up off the train seat and spontaneously decide to explore it. There's a desire to, yes, dream and to envision, but also ground down into your physical body, ground down into your resources, and ground down into your goals as well. You know, this could show for some of us around shiny object syndrome or getting a little distracted. This looks a lot more fun, or this looks a lot more interesting. There's an ask this week, where is it that we can ground our visions with precision? Where is it that we can take our daydreams and make them reality? Where is it that we can play with this dreamy energy and anchor it down? Neptune energy is also incredibly sensitive, and Venus is the heart space. It's what we love and value. So some of you could really feel your heart ache for those around you, and that can pull you off track, which of course, it's so important this time of year to exercise compassion and empathy. This is a very hard time of the year for many individuals, but with the energy of Capricorn, it's also minding your own personal bounds, whether that relates to holiday celebrations, if you are celebrating this week, whether that relates to how much is realistic for you to donate and to give, as well as how much energy that you pour out, because Neptune energy lacks bounds. Neptune has no concept of bounds. If we see something alluring outside of the train, it's like time goes out the window, plans go out the window. It's like, I see an adventure, I want to go over there. And it can also be around, my love for you extends selflessly and unconditionally, and that very well may be the case. But Venus in Capricorn is really asking you to assess your relational bounds, your energetic bounds, your financial bounds, and to enforce them lovingly. Sometimes establishing bounds is an act of love for ourselves as well as for others. And with Mercury and Sagittarius trining Chiron in Aries this week, there can be an invitation around where it is that we honor the feedback, honor the data, take the lesson, but true to having so much of the cosmos in Capricorn and Sagittarius, keep it going, keep it forward. Do not forget why you got on this train in the first place. your intended destination. But before you get there, do know that this train comes equipped with cosmic cafe carts, so you can grab a beverage. Let me know what you are sipping on as you start your week. I'm drinking one of my favorites. I've drank it here in the Cosmic Cafe before, the winter wake up tea from Trader Joe's. It is just so good. It lights up my world each and every winter time. And really, tea in general lights up my world each and every winter time. I am constantly drinking tea when the weather gets cold. Like, this is something that really gets me through the season, is just continual cups of tea. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not fully dressed without a cup of tea in hand. It just makes me so happy. I would love to know some of your favorite teas. I love winter wake up if I need a little bit of caffeine, but my favorite uncaffeinated ones, I love honey vanilla chamomile. Ooh, that one is so good. I love a peppermint. I love a sleepy tea. Ooh, love a sleepy tea at night. I would just love to know some of your tea faves. And my favorite is when there's quotes on the tea bags. Not all of them have this. This one did not, unfortunately. But that really brings some light into my life, which is necessary, as here in the Northern Hemisphere, we just passed winter solstice. So we still have short days, long nights. And it's super important this time of year to really grab hold of any little bit of magic, any little bit of hope, any little bit of optimism that just adds a little bit more sparkle within your day, a little bit more magic within your day. I know it was hard on Neptune in the intro. Listen, if you listen to Magic Monday, you know me and Neptune kind of have a toxic relationship with one another. I have said on this very channel that a hot take that I have as an astrologer is that Neptune is the true malefic, just because I've been done so dirty by Neptune. My chart is mainly mutable, so Neptune has hit basically all of my chart by a harsh aspect, which had some magic in it, to be sure, but it's very much the energy around idolizing Wizard of Oz and then learning who the wizard really is. Like, it's kind of that energy where you build something up, you idolize someone or something, and then you find that behind the smoke and mirrors, there's nothing really there of substance. That's been a lot of my Neptunian experiences, which of course I strive to be as not biased as possible as an astrologer, but all of my Neptunian experiences just left a bad taste in my mouth around Neptune. But as of late, I've been really vibing with Neptune. Neptune energy can promise a lot more magic within our day-to-day, as well as seeing the magic within our day-to-day and elevating experiences where it's just a cup of tea, but seeing it as a comforting ritual, seeing it as something that nourishes the soul. And yes, we can say that when we're watching a movie, it's not real in terms of what we're actually experiencing, but sometimes that sweet Hallmark movie is just the cheery ray of sunshine in what can feel to be a very bleak world that we need. So I am healing my relationship with Neptune, and this astrology gives us a great opportunity to do just that. I would love to know if any of you have any one-sided beef with any of the planets that you're trying to work on. I'm getting there with Neptune. Neptune energy is also very glamorous, and I do want to take this moment to just let you know, I love all of the comments. I know I've said this before, but they really just brighten my day. You all genuinely are the sparkle within my days and within my life. A lot of you were asking about my lip combo in the last Magic Monday, which I just want to let you all know. We'll go back to the astrology in a second. I promise you did not accidentally click on Haley Comet Reviews Makeup. But that particular lip combo was the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dazed Liquid Lipstick with the Styla Gel Lip Oil in the shade Heaven's Dew. So just heads up. And I got both of those discounted. I got discounted at Urban Outfitters randomly, and then the liquid lipstick was at Marshall's or something like that. Always check the makeup there. You can find some good things. And then today's, nobody asked, but I just want to share, today's lip gloss is this Hourglass in the shade name Cosmic. It's perfect. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and reapply so we can transition into Vibe Check of the Week. So welcome to Vibe Check of the Week. This is a segment here on Magic Monday where we compare all of the astrology that we will experience to a real life scenario. I'm not saying that this exact situation is going to play out within your world. Sometimes it does for you all as well as for me, but it's really meant to be a metaphoric device in order to understand how some of this astrology may surface within your reality, with your holiday plans, with your tasks this week, with your errands, with your train travels. Who knows? Maybe some of you are traveling by train, but that's not this week's vibe check. This week's vibe check is the following scenario. We will say that you have this friend named Brenda. And Brenda is someone who's very whimsical. She is somebody who kind of just goes with the wind, and it's so endearing. It's something that you really love about her, is that she's kind of always a mess, but she always means well, and she's never really prepared for anything, but it always works out. And every time you spend time with her, you're having to continually redirect her back to your goal. Around, we are in the shopping center to get a gift for your aunt. We are not here to go ice skating. We are not here to get cookies, because Brenda is just someone who's in each moment, and she just sees magic and sounds and colors, and she gets very pulled into cookie shops and skating rinks, which is part of her magic. It's why it is so much fun to spend time with her. But sometimes if you have a certain goal around getting gifts for your aunt, you can feel like sometimes you have to just pull her towards where it is that you want to go to. And you've really accepted this quality about Brenda. You recognize that this is part of her charm, that every time you get together, it's a sure thing that her shoes will be untied and that she will not have anything ready for the dinner party. She may be running a little late, but she always shows up with heart, even within her messiness and her flustered energy. She's very loving. She's very there for you. And you've just recognized this along into your friendship. It's just how she is. You know, there is a degree of acceptance that is necessary when it relates to relationships and connections, which is absolutely a theme this week with all of this Venus activity. Some astrologers assert that Neptune, who's also a featured key player of this week's astrology, is the higher octave of Venus. And there is a component of loving anyone around loving who it is that they are. Around, of course, if there are certain things that Brenda does that you find disrespectful or that not okay with you, you would vocalize it, but it really does no good to try to change someone or to want them to be something different. Part of love is accepting, this is who it is that you are. And I can assess my own priorities when it comes to love and connection. I can assess my own boundaries when it comes to interacting with you. But ultimately, this is who you are. And this is how you are, truly. And sometimes when we dislike someone's weaknesses, we don't take into account that that's a reason for their strengths. Like the reason why Brenda is so fun and why every time you get together with her is an adventure is because she is someone who's just open. And part of that openness means she gets distracted. She gets pulled all over the place. She goes on adventures, which sometimes makes her late to the next thing that she was meant to do. Like sometimes when we demonize, like, gosh, you're so this, we don't recognize how some of the qualities that we love, like that's just the other component of it. Like a lot of our strengths too, we wouldn't have if we didn't have some of our deficiencies. And so you have gotten to that place with Brenda and you've accepted her because you love her. And within your friendship, you of course communicate when something has hurt your feelings, when you feel disrespected. You tell her that she needs to be there 45 minutes before she actually needs to be there because you know she has a tendency of running late. And you just strive to take things with a grain of salt when she commits to a certain social plan, because sometimes the wind will blow and she will be taken in a different direction. And this very quality does raise a bit of concern as it relates to your 2026 Paris trip that you have scheduled with Brenda. And you have a feeling in your tummy and you're not sure if it's intuition, you're not sure if it's anxiety. You are someone who is very opposite to Brenda. You like things to be planned out and scheduled. And as the two of you are scheduling Paris, there was a feeling within you around, I wonder if she's going to be able to make it, or I wonder if she's going to miss her flight, or I wonder if I'm going to have to handle all of the logistics of this particular trip. And you feel that, but Brenda is someone who is very much like, this is going to be so exciting. She has set a picture of the Eiffel Tower as her phone background to continue to call it in and manifest it. She's been talking with you about different movies she saw about France and how excited she is. So her excitement, it seems like it is happening. And you know that Brenda does have a gift around being able to pull it all together at the last minute or have things work out even if she doesn't have a plan. So you give her benefit of the doubt. But when it comes to starting to pay for things, that is a bound that you have. You love her, but you are just not going to put yourself on the line paying for her plane ticket if you feel like there may be a potential that she flakes and drops out. So you communicate that to her lovingly, and she completely understands. But we'll say this week's vibe check is when you're really needing an answer from her and she cannot commit to this plan. And you have already put in your time off at work. You have made different itineraries. You have not financially committed to the trip yet because you had a feeling this would happen. But it is hard to feel disappointed. It is hard to be let down. And that's the particular Neptune brand of pain, is that it's getting all excited about a vision and then being let down. It's being love bombed by somebody and then there's really nothing of substance there. It's seeing a beautiful sail from the outside and then you go inside and all of the clothes in this boutique are fast fashion clothes that feel like they're going to fall apart in 3 washes. Like, it's a bummer to be let down. And that is the energy that you are in. But of course, you recognize, like, genuinely, she's not doing this maliciously. She has genuine reasons for why it is that she's not able to, like, financially commit at this time. Things have come up within her world. And you're understanding. You can hold your disappointment around it, around, wow, we've been talking about this for months and we were so excited but I get it. And this is exactly why I have that bound in place, because I just had a feeling that this may happen. And so you decide that when you go back into the office in 2026, you will go to your boss and you will revoke your PTO request. It's already been approved, but you just decide that you'll save your PTO for maybe you'll go in 2027, maybe you'll go in 2028. And that does give you a bit of hope around one day I'll go to Paris with Brenda. But Brenda is encouraging you, no, you have the PTO request. You know your boss never gives you that, especially for that long. You have the money saved. You have the itinerary planned. You should go. And part of you wants to say, Brenda, don't be ridiculous. You're being ridiculous. It's just typical Brenda being a dreamer. But we all need a Brenda in our lives. Some of us are the Brenda. I would love to know below, do you relate more with the protagonist or the Brenda in this situation? You know, sometimes the dreamers in this experience can be too idealistic. They don't pay attention to logistics. But sometimes having somebody within our life who is a dreamer, who sees magic around every corner, like, that's a really enduring, wonderful quality. And so everything within you is like, no, I couldn't possibly go on my own. And Brenda's like, you have the time off work. You have the itinerary scheduled. This has been your dream to do long before Emily went to Paris. You wanted to go to Paris. Like, you need to go. And so you decide, F it. Before you say F it, let's backpedal. We are in Capricorn season after all. Before you say F it, you reassess your money that you've been saving. You have enough allocated to this particular trip. The time is taken off. You don't have any major plans in 2026 that this would conflict with. And then you get to the F it moment, which is represented in this week's astrology by the first quarter moon in Aries, where you book it. And it feels risky. It feels impulsive. It's really not. There was a lot of planning that went into it. But it feels courageous because you're doing this on your own and you're doing this for yourself. And these dreams are coming into reality because you are making them happen and you are not letting somebody else decide your destiny. You know, the feeling of feeling let down was real because Brenda not going took away your Paris trip, but why did it have to? And so after all of that, you're still on track. You're still going towards your destination. Yes, it may look differently than how you initially planned, but you're saying yes to adventure. You're saying yes to your visions. You're saying yes to your goals, and you're saying yes to Paris. And obviously, not all of us are booking a trip to Paris next week. Wouldn't that be nice if we all were? This is going to surface differently within each and every one of our lives, but we'll get more nuance and depth into this vibe check of the week, how the various energies of this week's astrology bring it to life. So I just want to remind you all that I'm located in California, and so I use the time zone PST. Please adjust to your local time zone. If you are located elsewhere, you utilize a different time zone. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into the astrology for Monday, December 22nd. On Monday, December 22nd, we start the day with the moon in Capricorn. It sextiles Neptune in Pisces at 6:44 a.m. PST. And keep in mind, Neptune is a very featured player in this week's astrology, and it is at the 29th degree. Whenever there's Neptune activity, there tends to be dreaming activity. So definitely pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to the symbolism, and know that sometimes we do some of our work in our dreams. And yes, sometimes our literal work. Let me know below if any of you work in your dreams or have dreams about work. We are in Capricorn season after all, but even outside of our literal profession, we do some of our spiritual, soulful work in dreams as well. I'm truly a believer that sometimes when we dream of someone, we are meeting up with them within the astrals, within the ethers, and a lot can be done within that space. Sometimes the closure that we are seeking, the healing that we are seeking, the apologies that we are seeking are not available within this physical 3D world. Maybe they're not on this planet any longer. Maybe things just got weird with the human dynamic. And sometimes we will meet up with other souls in the ethers for apologies, for closure, to express the love that we're not able to express within this human 3D experience. And sometimes when we connect with people in the ethers, we're really able to connect with their higher self, to say what is on our heart or to hear what is on their heart and to mend and repair the bond on a soul level, even if on the human plane it got weird. I'm genuinely a believer in that. And that has been a way that I personally have found a lot of closure or have been able to take in the wisdom of certain situations within my life. What I've found is that a lot of times when I meet up with people in the ethers, in the astral plane, a lot of times who I'm connecting with is their higher self, which is a different version of them than the human version of them. And sometimes I strive to just do my work with the soul version because the human level, whether they're disconnected with their human self, whether they are escaping into vices that make them numb out their higher self, sometimes it's just not productive to try to work on things here if they're not there. So I work on it there. And a lot of times it really does improve the bond. And it goes on both ways. It's not just me connected with their higher self. It's my higher self oftentimes who's able to approach the dynamic from a more spiritual, soulful approach, which dissolves all of our human attachments that can complicate dynamics of ego and vices and so on and so forth. Sometimes we do some of our healing work in the astral realm and you will feel it within your physical experience. I've received readings in my dreams. I've given readings in my dreams. Sometimes we receive healing in our dreams. And our dreams can also be a really fascinating benchmark for our own healing or for our own journey, where sometimes if we're still very hurt about something, our dreams will reflect that very hurt. And sometimes when the dynamics shift within your dreams, you recognize like, oh, I'm not in that same place any longer. Like maybe I'm still pulled by nostalgia around seeing them in my dreams, but it didn't hurt me as it did before. Or maybe I'm showing up differently in the dream, where before I was screaming and cursing at them, and now I was in a space around honoring what I had learned from this person and walking forward. Like sometimes it's helpful to also look to your dreams for benchmarks of your own spiritual, soulful growth. And sometimes people from your past will come into your dreams, not as an invitation for you to get off on that train stop and get back entangled it in your physical human experience, but for you to recognize how far that you've come from that dynamic or how much you have grown from that particular dynamic. So with this Neptune energy, we have this soft Neptune aspect to start the week. We have a harsh Neptune aspect on Tuesday night, kind of bleeding into Wednesday as well. Really honor what is transpiring in your dream state and how it may be operating as a benchmark of growth. Sometimes our dreams are wild. Sometimes there's symbolism in it that is valuable for our journey forward. Sometimes there's healing work that is being done within the astral plane. Just taking a moment to take in the wisdom, but remember to show up for your human life. All of this Capricorn energy is around, that's a wild dream, and then getting back to work. Whatever that may be for you this week, whether you're working, whether you're not, to show up for your physical reality. The moon enters Aquarius at 7:52 a.m. And with the Aquarius moon, there is a focus upon community. There is a focus upon humanitarian efforts. So there can be a call this week to volunteer, to give back to your community in some way, to donate with the energy of tomorrow's Venus square Neptune. Like I cautioned earlier, my only caution would be sometimes the Venus square Neptune can make us not always discerning around our bounds. So you go to shop for one angel tree at the store and you get so moved that you end up shopping for 8. Like sometimes Neptune can really pull at the heartstrings, like rightfully, and wanting to show up and wanting to give. But it's just important to really tune into, okay, how can I really commit Venus in Capricorn season with the angel trees that I am signing up for in order to give them the best presents ever. There can be a nudge of this, or how is it that I can volunteer at my local soup kitchen? Or how is it that I can show up for my friend group? Maybe there are certain friends within my network where I know that holiday season is challenging for them in one way or another. How is it that I can show up for them as well? How is it that I can show up for my audience? There just could be a focus on that, like really widening the lens. And then the moon aligns with Pluto around noon. And sometimes when we widen the lens, there is an energy around feeling the devastation can really make our emotional space feel extreme. You know, sometimes when we widen the lens and tune into what is happening locally and globally, it can feel really intense. It can feel really scary. It can really plunge us to an intense place and not make us feel safe. And regardless of what this looks like for you, there just could be an energy on Monday where your emotions could feel more intense, could feel more extreme. You could feel a lot of anxiety or just feelings around not being safe. And so my encouragement today would be to breathe. Okay, moon is an air sign. Breathe and return yourself back to your physical body. We're in earth sign season around I am here, I am safe. Sometimes we can get caught up in the future, especially with the moon in Aquarius, and even Capricorn is a sign that is around ambition and success. We can get so caught up in that we forget to be here and to take one step at a time. So breathe here now, be here now. On Tuesday, December 23rd, at 9:41 p.m. PST, Venus in Sagittarius will square Neptune in Pisces. And this lands so late in the day on Tuesday, it may occur for many of you around the globe on Wednesday. I do find Neptune being the planet of blurring bounds, it tends to really leak into the surrounding days, giving this dreamy, idealistic, what is real sort of feeling. And it's important to know that this is the last stop of the Venus in Sagittarius journey. Venus ingresses into Capricorn tomorrow. And ultimately, what Venus in Sagittarius is really after is a journey. Venus in Sagittarius is around adventure. So you could have found throughout this transit, you were more inclined to spend money on experiences and adventures. You could have found within your dating life, you were craving spontaneity and adventure. You could have found yourself taking more risks as it relates to your fashion, as it relates to your aesthetic. And there is an urgency embedded within Tuesday that I do want you to be mindful of, because Venus is at the 29th degree. So you may feel urgency around needing to buy something at this time. And obviously, many of us around the globe are celebrating all sorts of holidays this week. And sometimes there is a literal deadline around, Aunt Marcia needs this gift for sure. But my encouragement here is to be mindful. Don't allow the busy, frantic pace of the world at this time set your pace and cause you to rush into decisions or rush you into purchases. There is a bit of like a frazzled, frenetic pace if you are doing any of your shopping IRL, where everybody is like rushing around and drawing things off the shelves, and it can get a little chaotic. And what's so important this week is that you set the pace. Society doesn't set the pace. Just because everybody else is rushing around does not mean you need to rush around as well. Just because everybody else is driving crazy trying to turn into a shopping center doesn't mean that you need to do the same. It's very important to set the pace, because with Neptune energy, we're more sensitive. And oftentimes if everybody else is running around and rushing, we can feel pulled into that energy as well. I always get so stressed out when I'm running errands this time of year, or I'm shopping for presents and they start playing, I'm trying to think of the name of this song. I want to say it's Carol of the Bells. I'm going to double check after, and Alex will insert via text if I'm getting the name of the song incorrect. But it's a song that goes dun 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 dun. For some reason, that song, it activates my fight or flight, where I feel like I'm rushing around, like buying things off shelves. And then when I get to my car, I'm like, what did I even buy? That's what I would actively encourage you not to do today, especially since Venus at this very urgent degree is squaring Neptune this evening, the planet of illusion and fantasy, getting pulled into a sale where you were running around to carol of the bells, putting things into your basket because if you spend $70, you get 65% off without ever once asking yourself, do I genuinely want these things? Do I see the value and the worth within these items? Or am I just getting pulled into the deal and the intrigue of the deal? Sales can be something that feels good. It feels pleasurable to spend money. We do get a chemical rush from that. But a lot of times it's like we can think we're getting this great deal, we're getting this great sale. Lo and behold, this boutique marked up everything a couple of weeks before the holiday sale, and you're spending the amount that you would have spent regardless on stuff that you don't even really like or value. So what I'm saying today is don't get caught up. Neptune energy could be a riptide where you get pulled in by sales that seem alluring, that seem like a great deal, but then you buy the shirts and they fall apart in the wash after day 3. And you're like, what was that for? So my encouragement would be to be cautious, strive not to make purchases in the heat of the moment or impulsively, strive to do your research. And outside of purchases not being what it is that we perceived them to be, this can also impact your relationships as well. With Venus square Neptune, you could feel yourself get swept into daydreams or delulu. And it's not to say that it's an illusion. Maybe the love that you shared for that person was real, but sometimes you get swept into it and then you wake up the next day and you're like, why was I romanticizing Charles from high school? Like, what was that all about? Neptune energy, things can seem more beautiful from afar. And sometimes the experiences that we have with someone can also seem more beautiful and more romantic and more idealized from afar. And with time, maybe your imagination has filled in the gaps, and maybe you're able to write a beautiful poem, a beautiful work of art about Charles, around who he was, but also who he was not. There was this book, I don't think it ever came out, but I just remember that James Franco wanted to write a book about Lana Del Rey, and the title was Real and Imagined Conversations with Lana Del Rey. And so many times when we have a crush on someone who is unavailable, or we know from the past, or we know them online, or we have an idea of who they are, we have some details about them, but our brain will work overtime filling in the gaps. And sometimes that's the version that we fall in love with, not the real person. And sometimes it can be lovely to have a muse, even if who you think that they are is of your own creation. That's not actually who they are. If you've ever pined for someone from afar, romanticized them and idealized them, and then started actually dating them, you know that they can't possibly compare to who you built them up to be. So sometimes there is that letdown energy around, oh, I had imagined you did this in your free time, and I imagined you do this. And so the encouragement is to not call up Charles from high school after a couple of glasses of wine today. Even if you dreamed of him, listen, Neptune energy also activates the dream space. Allow yourself to fantasize, write a poem, have your glass of wine and look out the window, watching the snow fall romantically and wistfully. But just know that has likely nothing to do with Charles. That's likely just the starting ground. And the energy of the fall from grace, or the fall from the pedestal, being particularly stark feels even more emphasized in our current sky because, of course, Venus is separating from Saturn. So it's like this energy around getting the dream, experiencing the fantasy, and recognizing, oh, this actually was better in dream or in fantasy. This was better in advertisement. This was better in daydream. This was better in poetry form, something like this. And whatever you think your day today is going to be, there's an energy with this Neptune where it very well may not be that. And Neptune energy, when it comes to matters of the heart, outside of romanticizing and idealizing individuals, it's important to know Neptune energy can be incredibly sensitive. So our hearts can be hurting at this time, around this time of year, and what it represents, and who's there and who's not there, who we thought was going to be there, who's not there, what someone promised to make happen, and what they were not able to make happen. This was the energy of the vibe check around getting your hopes up, because that really is the energy of Neptune, where you got your hopes up. You pinned all of the pictures of Paris on your Pinterest board. Maybe someone has let you down. They're like, but I'll make it up to you by the holidays. I'll be there, something like this. And when you've been let down, you are a little bit more guarded because it really hurts to get your hopes up and then to feel disappointed. And so a lot of times with Neptune energy, it's important to empty ourselves out as though we're a container of water, or in my case today, as though we are a cup of hot tea. We've got to empty out our mug of our own expectations in order to drink up the moment for what it is. If you've ever been on a trip where you pinned all sorts of pictures to your Pinterest board and you built it up to be this thing, obviously the place that you traveled to has its own unique magic and its own potency. But if you expect it to be exactly like the photos, nothing can capture the perfection of the photos or the romance of the movie moment that made you want to travel to that city. Your Paris trip will be its own unique brand of magic, but it's going to be different than how you imagined it to be. Firstly, Brenda's not going to be there, but there's probably going to be other parts of the city that are not on your Pinterest board, are not on your itinerary, that are going to sweep you away and enchant you and romance you. And if you're so full around what you already expect it to be, you won't be able to soak up what the trip actually is. And there also could be an energy with Venus and Sagittarius square Neptune in Pisces around brainstorming with your Brenda, so to speak, your dreaming friend around, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Dreaming and envisioning all sorts of things for your next year, for your next 5 years, whatever it may be. And it's beautiful to dream. That can really give our soul sustenance during darker times, to dream, to imagine, to envision. But it's knowing that maybe some of those things will happen, maybe they will not. We've got to kind of surrender and release attachment. It's really fascinating. I've shared this story before, but this year's vision board does have Bali on it. And how I was envisioning the year was I was going to spend summer in Bali. That was my intention. That was my vision. And it just didn't work out. And I was a little let down. I was like, oh, I got all excited about going to Bali this summer. And it was just clear that it was not in the universe's plan for me. You know, we can have our plans and visions, but the universe has its own plans and visions. And oftentimes the universe's plans and visions are even better than we could have even concocted ourselves, because now I'm going to Bali in 2026 with many of you within the Where We Evolve trip, which I do want to announce is sold out. And I'm so excited to experience Bali with the group who is coming. It is such a magical group. I truly feel that each and every person who felt the nudge and answered the call is absolutely meant to be there. And I'm just so excited to be able to go on this journey with them. Like literally, it's one of those like pinch me, I must be dreaming moments, which is very Neptunian. So it's been interesting because the picture on my vision board manifested, but not in the way that I would have imagined. And that's some of the beauty that life has if we let go of attachment around how exactly something needs to play out. Absolutely, it can feel heartbreaking to feel let down, but there is like a nudge later on this week with the first quarter moon in Aries around, well, you know who's not going to let me down? I'm not going to let myself down. I'm going to get to Paris. And it may not be exactly what's on my Pinterest board, but I'm opening up the space for it to be even better. And it's also important to note within the vibe check, you were financially cautious. You know, the downside of Venus square Neptune, how this could have surfaced in the vibe check, is putting all of the flights on your card, planning all of the logistics when you've known, like it's a character pattern that this is a friend of yours who has a tendency to flake. Like Venus square Neptune would be a bit delusional about it and putting yourself financially on the line, potentially without recourse if she does decide to pivot. There was an energy around knowing how she operates and minding your own bounds, minding what felt good for you, to not overextend yourself. Because that's also a component of Venus square Neptune. We could be more sensitive at this time. We can overextend ourselves. We can feel like we need to be everything to everyone at this time, to shapeshift into any particular role that Neptune may cast us in. But the most important role is the role of being you, and to come back to that before you find yourself being pulled into brainstorming with Brenda, dreaming with Brenda, envisioning with Brenda, so much so that you overextend yourself financially in this instance. But also when it relates to your love life, when it relates to romance, this can be the energy around someone who sweeps in and love bombs you, like much like that sale who gets you all excited around, it's going to be this and this, and it moves so fast that you don't have a moment to tune into, does this feel good? Does this feel aligned. A lot of people operate like that because when things are so whirlwind and pack your bags, we're going on this spontaneous trip tomorrow, and they're buying you lavish gifts, like of course it feels good in the moment, but sometimes when things are going too fast, you don't have a moment to like catch your breath and like ask questions. And listen, whirlwind romances, they're fun, but Capricorn energy, especially with Venus entering Capricorn tomorrow, is really wanting love that is real, that is solid, that is steady, that is committed, that makes a plan and backs it. So I'd also say exercise a little bit caution if someone that you just met is promising that they're going to fly you across the globe and take you on this amazing adventure. I mean, maybe they will, maybe they won't. And with Neptune energy, it's all a little foggy. It's all a little confusing. And you could just feel that. Outside of whirlwind romances and sales that are disappointing, overall, within your day, you could just feel a little murky. You could feel a little confused. You could be like, what time is it? You could be like, what day is it? What should I be doing right now? Neptune just kind of gives us energy around what is life type energy. It is very glamorous, harsh aspect. I would not necessarily suggest doing anything drastic aesthetic. This would not be my choice for like plastic surgery or something like that. But it could be fun to romanticize your life, like dress up a little bit more dramatically than you typically would, do your makeup a little bit more dramatically as though you were playing in the movie of your life. And the moon is in Aquarius all day long, sextile Mercury in Sagittarius. So there definitely is an ask to really look for the uniqueness within today because, sometimes we're like the protagonist where we are someone who's so laser focused around, I've got to go get this present, then I'm going to leave the shopping center. And sometimes it is nice to have a Brenda in our life or a child in our life who's like, look over here, look over here. Sometimes we forget to pay attention to the magic of the season or just the magic of day-to-day existence and the whimsy that could be found within this experience. So there is an invitation to look for it, but maybe don't spend your life savings on it. With Venus squaring Neptune. On Wednesday, December 24th, I want to highlight that before 9 a.m. PST, Venus will ingress into Capricorn. And this is a shift from wanting love to feel like an adventure and our money to go to journeys to wanting an investment. And obviously this brings up financial themes, but even when it comes to matters of the heart, asking yourself, what is the return on this investment? Which you are allowed to ask. Again, your love for someone can extend boundlessly, and it likely does. Venus squared Neptune last night. It's like, I love you throughout any sort of time and space continuum. I love you whether you're in my life, whether you're in my country, whether you're in my dreams. Like, I just love you for who it is that you are. And that energy may extend infinitely. But in this human experience, we have to mind these human bounds where we are bound by time. We are bound by our physical vessel. And so because of that, we do have to honor certain bounds within our life around, I love you, Brenda, but when it comes to financially putting myself on the line, I know that it doesn't feel good for me to cover you because oftentimes you flake and then I'm there holding 2 plane tickets when you're not able to go with me. So I've noted that where I can dream with you, I can envision with you, that's Venus square Neptune, but this is a boundary where I'm not going to financially substantiate the dreams and visions until I have peace of mind that they are really happening, that you are really committed to this. Like with Venus and Capricorn, it's really wanting to commit to what it is that we love and value. And so you can find that you are less enticed, just go on a date just for the hell of it. Like with Venus and Capricorn, it's like, do you meet my standards? Is this a value investment of my time and energy? Like Capricorn energy is about, the P&L report of, yes, our finances, but also our energy, where it's like, would this be a profitable experience spending time with you? Would I get a return on my investment of spending time with you? And it's not to say to view it transactionally, but to an energetic level, every time we leave an interaction, we are either amplified or we are either drained. So it's like, okay, not only did I give you my time, but I also gave you my energy that takes time to recoup. Are the numbers numbering? Is the math mathing? And is this where I want to invest my energy, which could show up around your dating, which could show up around your 2026 goals if you're starting to envision that? Just a side note, I would personally encourage you to reserve your New Year manifestations for the Capricorn new moon, the first new moon of the year. January 1st is just a day on the calendar, especially when you consider the rhythm of the seasons. And as we start the new year, we're building to a full moon. So it's really not the most opportune as it relates to setting your intentions and calling in your manifestations. I am having a couple of Capricorn new moon circles, which is where you will get your chart read, your transits read, and then we'll all work together. It's very small numbers of us to craft our intentions for the year based on where the energy is already flowing and going within your specific chart, your date of birth, your time of birth, your location. So make sure to check that out to grab one of the spots if you feel so enticed. But even if you're not there, like, do your own Capricorn new moon ritual. I'm just saying the first of the year is not, from an astrological standpoint, the most conducive for making your resolutions. Maybe that's why a lot of them don't typically work societally, collectively, because we're going against the seasons of nature. But with the energy of Venus and Capricorn, it's wanting return on investment of money. This is something that I value, and I feel like I get my money's worth. I get my value's worth. This is an energy that's more likely to save for something that's really high quality rather than run around the boutique trying to get this deal and this sale and spending money on things that fall apart in the wash. Like, Venus is now in a Saturn-ruled sign. Saturn energy stands the test of time. So it's really wanting what it is that you put your money towards to really stand the test of time. Okay, at this particular season of my life, this is the suitcase that I could purchase, but if I delay this purchase 6 months' time, I'll be able to have more resources in order to purchase a suitcase that will be more high quality and that will last longer. Like, you can find yourself shifting into that perspective, as well as it relates to your beauty decisions. Venus in Sagittarius was more adventurous. Venus in Capricorn is a little bit more classic, as well as wanting things that are helpful to stand the test of time. Like, not things where you have to be back in the salon in order to get it touched up every other day, where you have to continually spend money on it in order to ensure that it is presentable. Like with Venus in Capricorn, it's really striving to aim for a look that is timeless, that is sleek, that is classic, as well as to be very discerning around what it is that we invest in and what it is that we choose not to invest in order to avoid some of those Neptunian letdown energy. Like, this vibe check could have been so different if you did buy the tickets, if you got so swept away with the fantasy that you forgot your own budget and your own allocation towards this. And with Venus and Capricorn, it's really wanting to spend your money on what it is that you see value in. It's wanting to spend your time in connections that you see value in, as well as ensuring that you are minding your own financial bounds as well as your own relational bounds around, I know how Brenda is. And because I know how Brenda is, there are certain things that I will do for Brenda. There are certain things that I will not do for Brenda. And that makes our friendship better. So I'm not bitter. I'm not resentful. I've come to accept this about her. And for that reason, I typically do not put a PTO request until I'm certain that Brenda is really going to do this. Or I know this is how she is. So for that reason, I typically make backup plans just in case she falls through. What I need to do to make sure that I'm good on my side so that I'm not pulled into her flakiness and then I feel like I wasted my time or I wasted my money. The moon is in Aquarius for the first part of the day, sextile Chiron in Aries, which is the energy around it hurts, but it's okay. And this could even come up just in such a subtle way. You know, sextiles are very subtle. So you smell cookies and you're brought back to being 6 years old in your grandma's kitchen when she was making her thumbprint jam cookies. Or you walk by a certain reindeer display that takes you back to a particular holiday memory. And there can be certain parts of that wince, that dig into you, but it's just important to know it's fleeting. The Aquarius moon will square Uranus in Taurus at 1:42 p.m. PST. So a friend could have a surprising bit of tea for you, surprising update. Maybe a Brenta within your life lets you know that she won't be able to make the trip that you guys have been planning for. There could be some sort of change of plans. Okay, I keep spilling tea on myself because I talk with my hands with a cup of tea. These are the downsides of being such a tea girl this time of year, but I'm not going to put my tea down. There's something so comforting about holding it in my hands. But a friend within your life could have surprising news for you, or an unexpected development, or you yourself could just feel a little restless. If you are working today, you could find that people are a little more chaotic, or you could just feel a little restless around wanting to be off work. The moon enters Pisces at 5:09 p.m. PST, which shifts things to be a lot more emotional, a lot more sensitive. The energy of Aquarius moon will sometimes zoom out in order to understand logically the situation, and the Pisces moon is so in every situation that it's hard to zoom out of it at all. It's just feeling into every single moment, and sometimes even losing ourselves in every single moment, which is amplified by that Neptune square yesterday. But the Pisces moon does sextile Venus in Capricorn, so it is a really nice balance energy around, yes, dreamy, idealistic energy, courtesy of the Pisces moon, while also grounded, rooted energy with Venus in Capricorn. On Thursday, December 25th, the moon is in Pisces all day long, and it sextiles the sun in Capricorn after midnight, and then Mars in Capricorn in the morning time before 8 a.m. And so with the Pisces moon, you could get really swept into what this day is, but also what it isn't. Like I said, a lot of times we hurt our own feelings or aid our own disappointments by building something up to be this, like what we expect something to be, so rarely what it actually is. We can get all excited around a certain inspo pic that we bring our hairdresser, and our hair is rarely exactly what we envision. We can have a certain vision of how the holiday will be for some, and the reality may be different in a good way, it may be different in a bad way, but it certainly will not be exactly what we thought it was going to be. So where is it that we can release our own expectations that we bring into every situation in order to allow it to be what it is? And with the energy of Capricorn, from that space, from that realistic energy around just taking the moment by moment, we're able to assess, we're able to make rational decisions, we're able to tune into, is this a worthy investment of my time and energy? And if it's not, then we make budget cuts. We don't need to make it a big story. It's like if we've had certain experiences around getting together with Brenda and we bought the movie tickets and she didn't show up, she had a good excuse though, now you know that data next time around, okay, noted. I definitely still value spending time with you, but I'm not going to financially commit to spending time with you unless you're actually there. And that's just data that I'm taking with me moving forward. And maybe some of that data is coming up for you around the holidays. You know, Pisces moon energy is very, very sensitive, and the Capricorn energy is asking you to compartmentalize around, okay, it's just a day, and this is just data that I'm taking with me moving forward. I can have my feelings around it, but in order to avoid future disappointments and letdowns, I'm simply taking this data, proceeding onward. There can also be an energy around bringing your dreams to reality. It may be subtle around recognizing how your dreams are coming into fruition. And a lot of times our dreams take a lot of effort. They take a lot of work to sustain them, especially Capricorn's answering to Saturn and Pisces. Like, our dreams are a responsibility, at least when we take them from our visions to reality. There is a responsibility to them, and not all of them are worth it. Sometimes we just have certain daydreams, ideas that are just nice to just get lost in dreamland. Because when you take them into reality, it changes. And then you don't have that safe space within your own dreamland to retreat back to. Not every dream is worth bringing out from dreamland because it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of discipline, showing up for it, believing in yourself when no one else does. That is a full-time job in and of itself. But it's really special when you start to see the glimmers, when you start to feel the energy snowballing you in a certain direction. Some of you could be in a season of your life that you're like, gosh, I used to dream of this. Or there could be an energy where you're tapping into 2026 and some of the ideas that you're tapping into, it's like it feels near. It feels close. It feels like so much of my life has prepared me to do what I'm going to do in 2026. You know, next year, it's a 1 year. We've got all of this fire energy next year. It's a lot around creation. It's a lot around initiation. And it's knowing that we have a responsibility from our dreams, yes, to chisel them in real life if we show up for the call, but it's also a responsibility because it has been given to us from the divine, around the idea drops in, or the project calls to our heart, or the hobby draws us in for a reason. Will we show up in order to find what that reason is? Pisces moon asks us to really see the divinity within this experience, the spirit within this experience, minding with the energy of Capricorn sun that we need to mind the bank account, that we need to mind our physical vessel. It could be fun to get caught up in the world of spirituality, but it's knowing as endless and as universal as we are as souls and what we tap into as souls, in this lifetime, you've incarnated into this vessel. So it's your responsibility to take care of it, and it's a gift to take care of it. And you have incarnated with these particular passions and talents within you, which also are a gift to chisel. So I'm just seeing some of you could just have moments today, just little glimmers where you're excited about something that you're wanting to work on, or you just have a moment of gratitude around, this is what I used to dream of, and here I am living it. And if that's not your day today, just know a future version of you is living that dream that's in your cute little noggin right now. On Friday, December 26th, the Pisces moon will square Mercury in Sagittarius, which is a push-pull between the head and the heart, between even dual sides of ourself around, should I go to Paris? No, I can't go to Paris without Brenda, but the itinerary is already planned, but I got time off work, but I couldn't possibly. You could feel some of that, especially starting your day, since this does land in the morning time at 7:02 a.m. Maybe some of you are off work and you're like, I should make something of my day and go on an adventure. And then part of you is like, no, I just want to stay in my bed and color. Like you could just feel a little bit of indecision showing up. Sometimes in a moment of sensitivity, you can be a little bit more blunt and honest than you meant to be. That can also be a manifestation of this energy. The moon in Pisces does trine Jupiter in Cancer, though, around 9:43 a.m. PST. So there should be this energy of joy or gratitude coding your day. And it's really special when you can tap into that even when there's no reason for it. Have you ever had that where it's like things are kind of falling apart within your world, but randomly you're still feeling positive and optimistic about it all? That is so special, because ultimately we are going to be at the mercy of our outside reality if our inner state is always just reflecting what's happening around us. Around, if things are going badly, then I'm feeling badly. If things are going great, then I'm feeling great. We're always going to be hinging our emotional health on the outer world, which, true to what life does, it's going to go up and down. It's going to be back and forth. And of course, we're human. We're not going to be like, yippee, if we realize something in our house needs fixing, or if a friend backs out of a Paris trip. Like, obviously, there's going to be emotions around it. But it is really special when something happens and you're still able to maintain a positive emotional space. Maybe you're able to regulate yourself so you're not making decisions from that very agitated internal space. And while the trine to Jupiter in the morning is more optimistic, is more joyful and grateful, the alignment to Saturn at 4:41 p.m. is less so. You could feel very drained, very exhausted, emotionally a little bit heavy, especially the moon will align with Neptune that evening as well. So a heaviness around realizing that the dream was not real, or that we bought into the illusion of something and feeling the disappointment in that, or even tapping into the vision, the dream, and then feeling the heaviness around how much work it's going to be, or how much we're going to have to push ourselves to bring it into reality. We could also just really feel empathy for other humans and just feel the weight of that as well. Neptune energy is very sensitive. So my encouragement would be very mindful if you are spending time around lots of people. Take your baths, have your oils, have your crystals, like have your things that protect your energy. I would also encourage that if you're online, if you put yourself out there in any sort of way, you are making your energy available for other people to pull on. And unless you're mindful of that, you may not know what it is that you're tapping into. You may be like, I feel so crummy and I don't know why, but it's because you just posted something and a lot of people are perceiving you at that particular time. Pisces energy is very much around the undercurrents of this experience and really minding your own energetic bounds within that. And last note, just in between the moon aligning with Saturn at 4:41 and the moon aligning with Neptune at 11:03, the Pisces moon does sextile Uranus and Taurus. So maybe this is like a different sort of protection ritual. Maybe you typically take baths, and this is a bath that you take where you really pray over the bath. You utilize salts in it. You take crystals near you. And sometimes you can feel ridiculous if you're in the Capricorn energy around, it's just a bath. But then when your spirit feels so much lighter after, you're like, it wasn't just a bath, it was a portal. So maybe some of you are doing some sort of energetic ritual in order to take care of your energy. on Saturday, December 27th at 11:10 a.m. PST, we have a first quarter moon in Aries. Now, a couple of themes that I want to highlight here. Firstly, this is a halfway point between last week's Sagittarius new moon. You can get caught up on that in our last episode, and next week's Cancer full moon, which of course I'll be back in the cosmic corner of the internet to fill you in on next week. So this is a halfway point, and the moon reflects that halfway point by being halfway illuminated in the sky above us. And with this particular lunation, it's on the waxing side. So it's a first quarter moon, which is around essentially challenge. And knowing that when challenges emerge, we have a choice point around, are we going to push by it or are we going to give up? And again, sometimes we decide this is not worth my time and energy to overcome this challenge. I'm going to redirect and put my energy elsewhere. I don't need to make it a story around why it failed or why I gave up. I can just acknowledge this is no longer a worthy investment of my time and energy. And that's that. You know, it's Capricorn season. Sometimes business is business, or sometimes our boundaries are just boundaries. But some of us, especially if we're passionate about it or it means something to us, we fight for it, right? The first quarter moon in Aries is around fighting for it, getting over this challenge, getting over this obstacle, pushing through discomfort, unlocking our courage codes, even being independent. Like Aries energy, it's the first sign of the zodiac. So it's like, I don't need to wait on Brenda to bring my dream to reality. In fact, my doing that is making me disappointed because now I'm putting my dreams on hold. And the first quarter moon in Aries is like, no, I don't want to put my dreams on hold. I want to go out and go to Paris and solo travel. And yeah, that kind of terrifies me. I've never solo traveled before, but who's going to make my dreams happen if I don't? Like, some of you can feel this push around pushing through and knowing that no one's going to do it for you. That's a huge theme of 2026's astrology, with Saturn in Aries, Neptune in Aries, Chiron in and out of Aries, is no one is going to do it for me. And that's what's going to make it so gratifying when I scale to the top of the mountain, when I make this business a success, when I'm in Paris, knowing I did it for me. Sometimes it's disappointing, right? Around, I don't want to be as strong as I've had to be. I don't want to be as independent as I want to be. But there is a particular satisfaction that comes from knowing that you made this happen. You took yourself to Paris and you had to figure out the logistics and you had to figure out your way around, and you're not waiting on Brenda or anyone to give you what it is that you desire out of this experience. And you can let your fear run your life, or you can let your desire run your life. And the first quarter moon in Aries is around pushing through fear in order to get to what you desire, if it's something that's worth it to you. And so with the first quarter moon, there can be a little bit of challenges. There can be like a choice point around having to make a decision. There can be an energy around having to move on instinct or making an impulsive decision, or even impulsively committing to something. And I'm using that word loosely. Okay, Venus in Capricorn is around, okay, I've reviewed all the numbers. It makes sense. But the first moon in Aries, like clicking the book trip button, which always feels a little risky. Having a lot of adrenaline moving through your system. But now we have a clearer picture, right? Venus is separating from Neptune. So we have a clearer picture. We've looked at the receipts with Venus and Capricorn, and we are taking the leap. We're making this happen. I know what I can and cannot give to this experience logically and realistically. And now I'm going for it. And I'm clicking the book trip button, and I'm doing it for myself, and I'm doing it by myself. And with this energy, a lot of people could feel very heated. They could feel very impatient with the first quarter moon in Aries. There could be fiery disagreements that lead to reconciliation or being able to genuinely hear one another. And I say that because Mercury in Sagittarius trines Chiron in Aries. This lands at 4:15 p.m. PST. So again, there could have been something said in the heat of the moment. Chiron is the energy of working it out. You know, Chiron, regardless if it's by harsh aspect or soft aspect, is going to bring a little bit of a ouch energy, being able to work through it. You know, with Mercury trine Chiron, it could be words that heal in some sort of way around telling Brenda how this makes you feel, around, I acknowledge this is how you are, but it does not feel good to me when you get this far in the planning process with me and then back out. I completely understand that your feelings are valid, but this is how I feel. Like Mercury in Sagittarius trine Chiron in Aries is around being honest and being vulnerable. And Brenda, in response, also says, I am so sorry. I got so caught up in it. And then I had so much shame around my financial situation that I couldn't break it to you, that I didn't think I would be able to afford it. And I kept thinking I would just be able to manifest the money and then I'd be able to buy the tickets and it would all work out. And it's like being able to be honest and both be vulnerable. And that's what helps us create resolution in any sort of instance. This could also be giving yourself a pep talk, right? With Mercury and Sagittarius trying Chiron around. I know you're scared. I know you're scared to be alone. I know you're scared to experience this alone, but what if this could work out even better? You know, the more that I have continued to fuel the belief that everything at every point in time is always working out for me, regardless of how it looks, like things will make sense in time. Like who knows what this Paris trip is going to have in store? It could be even more magical because you are experiencing it on your own. You're able to define it on your own terms. Like what would it look like if you trusted that everything is working out for you? And you can feel the fear, you can feel the uncertainty, but pep talk yourself enough to go on the adventure, to book the trip for some people. And Mercury trine Chiron could also be having a hard conversation that promotes healing, being honest with someone, being vulnerable about something, where it could have been easy for you to just let the whole Brenda situation go and just be like, that's how she is, and let it go and hide your hurt feelings. But because you were honest, that's what led the two of you to a conversation around being very honest and upfront about your feelings, and her giving you the pep talk you needed to still book the trip. Like sometimes we do our relationships a disservice if we just like stuff our truth down. We think we're saving them the trouble of having to hear why we're hurt, but sometimes people don't even know why they're hurting us. And when we vocalize, hey, it hurts my feelings when this happens, or is there any way you could let me know earlier next time? Like I can do what's necessary on my part, but it takes two to tango. And those sort of conversations are uncomfortable because it does require vulnerability, and it's a lot easier to pretend like we don't care. And being in that space, we will set ourselves up to be sometimes continually disrespected or hurt because we have not vocalized, hey, this hurts my feelings. Maybe this is what Brenda needs for her to recognize, hey, while this is a personality trait and this is how I am, there are certain communication strategies that could have alleviated this plan going as far as it could have gone, or there's certain bits of wisdom that I can take from this to better myself. You know, regardless of how we interact, we change one another, and parts of how we change and evolve as humans is having uncomfortable conversations. Even for some of you, this could be saying the thing that you've been dreading saying around. Maybe there's been something that you've had to communicate around. You've had 2 different New Year's Eve plans and you've been going along with it because you don't want to let anyone down, but you have to be honest. You know, you could dream endlessly, right, with all this Neptune energy, but your physical vessel can only be at one party. And sometimes it sucks to be honest with someone or to let someone down temporarily, but it's a lot more kinder to yourself as well as that person to do that. Because sometimes when we're pushing off an uncomfortable conversation, it's still taking up residence in our mind. And with Mercury in Sagittarius trine Chiron in Aries, it's just a reminder on Saturday that the truth really does set us free. And even if this isn't to other people, you could be journaling and write something that you're like, ooh, that hits. Or again, you could have been romanticizing about Charles from high school on Tuesday, and then Mercury trine Chiron, you write an essay about what you learned from that experience, or you didn't get the bid that you really wanted as it relates to this business project, but with Mercury and Sagittarius trine Chiron and Aries, you find a silver lining around it. Sucks, I wanted this client, but it actually might work out because the dates of this project would have interfered with this and this, or maybe this is just opening up space for a better project down the road. There can be an energy around, it sucks, but it's okay. It sucks, but I'm taking the wisdom from it. It sucks, but I'm communicating it. The moon enters Aries shortly after midnight, sextiling Pluto at 4:37 a.m., which is the energy of resilience, which is the energy of rebirth. Do know exactly what I said, the power of new beginnings. You know, we've got a new year in 2026 with all of this possibility. Do know you can always begin again. You can always try again. And sometimes our own expectations of ourselves get in our way. Like us being a filled mug of hot tea gets in our own way from trying the thing, doing the thing. And the reason I say that is because the Aries moon will square Venus in Capricorn at 6:33 a.m. PST. So any perfectionists here in the cosmic corner of the internet, I'm calling you out. If you've been stalling on starting the thing because it's not perfect, the first quarter moon in Aries could be your nudge to show up anyway. Show up messy. There's always time to polish. Sometimes we compare people's polished final drafts that have been reviewed by entire teams of people by our first try at something when it's just us. You get better by showing up and by trying. So don't let comparing yourself to polished perfection hold you back from taking the first step. And then, like I noted, we have that first quarter moon at 11:10 a.m. and then the Aries moon squaring Mars in Capricorn. So definitely a feisty energy on Saturday. There could be some fighting words, but also with Mercury in Sagittarius trining Chiron and Aries, being able to talk it out when everybody's calmed down. And you also just could feel impatient around your ambitions. On Sunday, December 28th, the moon is in Aries all day long. It squares off with Jupiter in Cancer at 1:59 p.m. It aligns with Chiron at 3:26 p.m. and then it trines Mercury in Sagittarius at 6:13 p.m. at which point it is void. So the astrology is really nudging you to have a chill Sunday evening and to really just do things today. All of those energies really summarized feel like doing the things that comfort the soul, making pots of tea, watching comfort movies, going out in nature, if that's what heals the soul. There's just an energy to come back to the soul space and doing the things that also make you feel like yourself or bring you back into your own energy. And that differs person to person, soul to soul, because we all have our own unique magic and our own unique energy and our own unique activities that bring us back into our own energy. And there's an ask on Sunday to really love ourselves within our messy imperfection. You know, within the vibe check, I'm like half the protagonist and half Brenda. Which I guess makes sense, being a Pisces sun and a Virgo moon. In that I'm like the protagonist because I am someone who really plans a lot. I am someone who likes to do things in a particular way and really commits to what I invest my energy into. But I also have this Brenda part in that I'm idealistic. Sometimes I'm a little all over the place. Sometimes I get excitable. I'm very whimsical. Sometimes I do get distracted by what's happening around me and the magic that I see. And I've disliked both parts of myself. There are some seasons of life that I've disliked the Virgo parts of myself around how nervous I get when things are not going according to plan or according to schedule. There are parts of me that sometimes detest how I can't seem to sit still or not always be doing something. But I also recognize that those very qualities that I dislike, it's what makes Magic Monday happen every single week. It's what's helped me be the astrologer that I am in order to take in all of that information and apply structures and details in order to delineate a birth chart. Same with my messy side, my Pisces side. Sometimes I hate how emotional I am, but I wouldn't be the emotionally intelligent person that I am, which helps me be the astrologer that I am without that quality within myself. So a lot of times what we dislike about ourselves or what exists within our shadow is also existent within our light. And so what would it look like to embrace these parts of ourselves? Still seeing where it is that we can better ourselves around, okay, I'm a little messy. I need to be better about that. Or I sometimes struggle around being spontaneous. If it's not according to plan, I'm working on that. But it's embracing the messiness of who it is that we are and the authenticity of who it is that we are. That's the vibe of 2026, that your authenticity is your electricity. That is your magic. Like that is really what is going to thrive in 2026 is things that are very authentic rather than trying to align your energy to an external world or letting the world dictate your pace. It's around how is it that I can navigate through this world? So rather than Brenda having to fight who it is that she is, if she's just this whimsical, excitable person, it's around what systems and processes work for me. Rather than me trying to fit into this world as it is, how can I make this world work for me? Because when we approach it from this loving lens, that's when we're able to make strides because we're not fighting ourselves. We're not running up against ourselves trying to be something that we're not. And we find ways that we can navigate forward. Like, granted, who knows if Brenda will ever really be able to be there on time or if she won't be pulled in by ice skating and cookies when the two of you go to buy your aunt a present. That might be how Brenda is, but maybe there's certain parts of her that she can absolutely work on around getting on a budgeting plan or being more communicative when she knows that something's not going to be feasible. We all have things that we can work on, but where is it that we can work on these things lovingly? So my loves, that is our week. The Magic Monday mantra of the week is I set my pace. It's so important to not get swept up into the pace that this world dictates for you, whether that's consumerism, corporations and companies telling you need to buy, and hurry, and now, or even when it comes to your goals and your visions, everybody flaunting their successes and making you feel like that's where you need to be right now. Set your own pace and commit to your own pace. Slow and steady. Capricorn is the archetype of the sea goat, but I like to think of Capricorn as a mountain goat. It just aligns with the Capricorn desire to ascend to the peak of our talents and abilities in this lifetime. We cannot climb the mountain overnight. I mean, we could, but we're going to burn ourselves out. Sustainable success is part of the equation. And to do that, you find a pace that works for you, that is in line with how it is that you move through this world. And that comes back to the authenticity message with the first quarter Aries moon. And it's around pushing through fear, pushing through doubt. First quarter moon in Aries is also around courage codes, like unlocking our inner warrior, where there will be times when you're scaling a mountain that you're exhausted. You're going to want to give up. But if it means something to you, you push through, you show up. This goal, this ascent, this peak is of value to you. You are of value to you. What would it look like if we reframed how we approach goals and success rather than I'll be worthy once I have the business, once I'm in Paris. I'm so worthy that I want to give myself that success that I see in my dreams, that Parisian trip that I see in my dreams, knowing that when it happens in reality, it will be different, but it will be sweeter because it'll be playing out within my physical reality. And because I know I'm the one who climbed to the top of the peak, who made that happen for myself. So there's an ask this week to believe in yourself, to set your own pace, and to make it happen. And I'm here cheerleading you on. So our emoji of the week this week, if you did make it to the end of the episode, comment below the reindeer emoji as a shout out to our co-hosts over here that I have not even addressed. Meet the reindeer, adding their sparkle to the cosmic corner of the internet. This is also my office tree, complete with celestial ornaments. So comment below reindeer to give them a shout out, or use the word reindeer within a sentence. That's just a little game that we play here on Magic Monday to let me know that you made it to the end of your forecast. Reminder to go check out the 12 Days of Cosmos 2026 forecast series. I will link the playlist link below. This week we have the final 3 videos going live. Gemini will go live on Monday, December 22nd. Taurus will go live on Wednesday, December 24th. And Aries will go live on Friday, December 26th. So make sure to check that out. I'm wishing you all such a holiday season. Happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, happy Boxing Day, and any other holiday. Happy day off if you celebrate none of the above. Happy holiday celebration if you celebrate something else that I am not aware of. I'm wishing you all a joyous, magical week. And until we meet again, drink lots of water or hot tea and stay magical.